Conflict resolution, otherwise known as reconciliation, is conceptualized as the methods and processes involved in facilitating the peaceful ending of conflict and retribution. Committed group members attempt to resolve group conflicts by actively communicating information about the conflicting motives or ideologies to the rest of the group, and by engaging in collective negotiation. Dimensions of resolution typically parallel the dimensions of conflict in the way the conflict is processed. Cognitive resolution is the way disputants understand and view the conflict, with beliefs and perspectives and understandings and attitudes. Emotional resolution is in the way disputants feel about a conflict, the emotional energy. Behavioral resolution is how one thinks the disputants act, the behavior. Ultimately, a wide range of methods and procedures for addressing conflict exist, including negotiation, mediation, arbitration, diplomacy, and creative peacebuilding. The term conflict resolution may also be used interchangeably with dispute resolution, where arbitration and litigation processes are critically involved. Furthermore, the concept of conflict resolution can be thought to encompass the use of non-violent resistance measures by conflicted parties in an attempt to promote effective resolution. Conflict resolution as an academic field is relatively new. George Mason University in Fairfax, VA, was the first university to offer a PhD program. Theories and models. Dual concern model. The dual concern model of conflict resolution is a conceptual perspective that assumes individuals' preferred method of dealing with conflict is based on two underlying themes: a dimensions, concern for self and concern for others. According to the model, group members balance the concern for satisfying personal needs and interests with the concern for satisfying the needs and interests of others. In different ways. The intersection of these two dimensions ultimately leads individuals towards exhibiting different styles of conflict resolution. The dual model identifies 5 conflict resolution styles, strategies that individuals may use depending on the dispositions toward pro-self or pro-social goals. Avoidance conflict style, characterized by joking, changing or avoiding the topic, or even denying that a problem exists. The conflict avoidance style is used when an individual has no interest in dealing with the other party, when one is uncomfortable with conflict, or due to cultural contexts. During conflict, these avoiders adopt a wait-and-see attitude, often allowing conflict to phase out on its own without any personal involvement. By neglecting to address high conflict situations, avoiders risk allowing problems to fester out of control. Yielding conflict style. In contrast, yielding or accommodating conflict styles are characterized by a high level of concern for others and a low level of concern for oneself. This passive pro-social approach emerges when individuals derive personal satisfaction from meeting the needs of others and have a general concern for maintaining stable, positive social relationships. When faced with conflict, individuals with a yielding conflict style tend to give in to others' demands out of respect for the social relationship. Competitive conflict style. The competitive or fighting conflict style maximizes individual assertiveness and minimizes empathy. Groups consisting of competitive members generally enjoy seeking domination over others, and typically see conflict as a win-or-lose predicament. Fighters tend to force others to accept the personal views by employing competitive power tactics that foster feelings of intimidation. Cooperation conflict style, characterized by an active concern for both pro-social and pro-self behavior. The cooperation conflict style is typically used when an individual has elevated interests in their own outcomes as well as in the outcomes of others. During conflict, cooperators collaborate with others in an effort effort to find an amicable solution that satisfies all parties involved in the conflict. Individuals using this type of conflict style tend to be both highly assertive and highly empathetic. By seeing conflict as a creative opportunity, collaborators willingly invest time and resources into finding a win-win solution. According to the literature on conflict resolution, a cooperative conflict resolution style is recommended above all others. This resolution may be achieved by lowering the aggressor's guard whilst raising the ego. Conciliation conflict style. The conciliation or compromising conflict style is typical of individuals who possess an intermediate level of concern for both personal and others' outcomes. Compromises value fairness and, in doing so, anticipate mutual give-and-take interactions. By accepting some demands put forth by others, compromisers believe this agreeableness will encourage others to meet them halfway, thus promoting conflict resolution. This conflict style can be considered an extension of both yielding and cooperative strategies. Political conflict resolution in practice. Wars may occur between warring parties who contest an incompatibility. The nature of an incompatibility can be territorial or governmental, but a warring party must be a government of a state or any opposition organization or alliance of organizations that uses armed force to promote its position in the incompatibility in an interstate or an interstate armed conflict. Wars can conclude with a peace agreement, which is a formal agreement, which addresses the disputed incompatibility, either by settling all or part of it, or by clearly outlining a process for how to regulate the incompatibility. A ceasefire is another form of agreement made by warring parties. Unlike a peace agreement, it only regulates the conflict behavior of warring parties, and does not resolve the issue that brought the parties to war in the first place. Peacekeeping measures may be deployed to avoid violence in solving such incompatibilities. Beginning in the last century, political theorists have been developing the theory of a global peace system that relies upon broad social and political measures to avoid war in the interest of achieving world peace. The Blue Peace approach, developed by Strategic Foresight Group, facilitates cooperation between countries over shared water resources, thus reducing the risk of war and enabling sustainable development. Conflict resolution is an expanding field of professional practice, both in the U.S. and around the world. The escalating costs of conflict have increased use of third parties who may serve as a conflict specialists to resolve conflicts. In fact, relief and development organizations have added peace-building specialists to the teams. Many major international non-governmental organizations have seen a growing need to hire practitioners trained in conflict analysis and resolution. Furthermore, this expansion of the field has resulted in the need for conflict resolution practitioners to work in a variety of settings, such as in businesses, court systems, government agencies, non-profit organizations, and educational institutions serving throughout the world. Culture-based conflict resolution as both a professional practice and academic field is highly sensitive to cultural practices. In Western cultural contexts, such as Canada and the United States, successful conflict resolution usually involves fostering communication among disputants, problem-solving, and drafting agreements that meet underlying needs. In these situations, conflict resolvers often talk about finding a mutually satisfying solution for everyone involved. In many non-Western cultural contexts, such as Afghanistan, Vietnam, and China, it is also important to find win-win solutions. However, the routes taken to find them may be very different. In these contexts, direct communication between disputants that explicitly addresses the issues at stake in the conflict can be perceived as very rude, making the conflict worse and delaying resolution. it can make sense to involve religious, tribal, or community leaders, communicate difficult truths through a third party, or make suggestions through stories. Intercultural conflicts are often the most difficult to resolve because the expectations of the disputants can be very different, and there is much occasion for misunderstanding. In animals, conflict resolution has also been studied in non-humans, including dogs, cats, monkeys, snakes, elephants, and primates. Aggression is more common among relatives and within a group than between groups. Instead of creating distance between the individuals, primates tend to be more intimate in the period after an aggressive incident. These intimacies consist of grooming and various forms of body contact. Stress responses, including increased heart rates, usually decrease after these reconciliatory signals. Different types of primates, as well as many other species who live in groups, display different types of conciliatory behavior, resolving conflicts that threaten the interaction between individuals in a group is necessary for survival, giving it a strong evolutionary value. These findings contradict previous existing theories about the general function of aggression, i.e., creating space between individuals, which seems to be more the case in conflicts between groups than it is within groups. In addition to research in primates, biologists are beginning to explore reconciliation in other animals. Until recently, the literature dealing with reconciliation in non-primates have consisted of anecdotal observations and very little quantitative data. Although peaceful post-conflict behavior had been documented going back to the 1960s, it was not until 1993 that Rowell made the first explicit mention of reconciliation in feral sheep. Reconciliation has since been documented in spotted hyenas, lions, bottlenose dolphins, dwarf mongoose, domestic goats, domestic dogs, and, very recently, in red-necked wallabies. Education. Universities worldwide offer programs of study pertaining to conflict research, analysis, and practice. Conrad Grebel University College at the University of Waterloo has the oldest running peace and conflict studies program in Canada. PACs can be taken as an honors, 4-year general, or 3-year general major, joint major, minor, and diploma. Grebel also offers an interdisciplinary Master of Peace and Conflict Studies professional program. The Cornell University ILR School houses the Scheiman Institute on Conflict Resolution, which offers undergraduate, graduate, and professional training on conflict resolution. It also offers dispute resolution concentrations for its MALR, JD, MILR, MPS, and MS, PhD graduate degree programs. At the graduate level, Eastern Mennonite University's Center for Justice and Peacebuilding offers a Master of Arts in Conflict Transformation, a dual Master of Divinity, MA in Conflict Transformation degree, and several graduate certificates. EMU also offers an accelerated 5-year BA in Peacebuilding and Development, MA in Conflict Transformation. Additional graduate programs are offered at Georgetown University, Johns Hopkins University, the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, and Trinity College Dublin. George Mason University's School for Conflict Analysis and Resolution offers BA, BS, MS, and PhD degrees in conflict analysis and resolution, as well as an undergraduate, minor, graduate certificates, and joint degree programs. Nova Southeastern University also offers a PhD in conflict analysis and AMP resolution, which is offered in both online and on-campus formats. Many students completing a doctoral program enter the field as researchers, theorists, analysts, policy makers, and professors in higher education. Paxludens, a non-profit based in the Netherlands, is an organization that puts together conflict resolution simulations set in an international relations scenario to help students learn about the intricacies of where conflict emerges in the world of international politics. Conflict resolution is a growing area of interest in UK pedagogy, with teachers and students both encouraged to learn about mechanisms that lead to aggressive action, and those that lead to peaceful resolution. Tel Aviv University offers 2 graduate degree programs in the field of conflict resolution, including the English Language International Program in Conflict Resolution and Mediation, affording students to learn in a region which is the subject of much research on international conflict resolution. The Nelson Mandela Center for Peace and AMP Conflict Resolution, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi, is one of the first centers for peace and conflict resolution to be established at an Indian university. It offers a 2-year full-time MA course in conflict analysis and peacebuilding, as well as a PhD in conflict and peace studies. Conflict management. Conflict management refers to the long-term management of intractable conflicts. It is the label from the variety of ways by which people handle grievances, standing up for what they consider to be right and against what they consider to be wrong. Those ways include such diverse phenomena as gossip, ridicule, lynching, terrorism, warfare, feuding, genocide, law, mediation, and avoidance. Which forms of conflict management will be used in any given situation can be somewhat predicted and explained by the social structure or social geometry of the case. Conflict management is often considered to be distinct from conflict resolution. In order for actual conflict to occur, there should be an expression of exclusive patterns, and tell why the conflict was expressed the way it was. Conflict is not just about simple inaptness, but is often connected to a previous issue. The latter refers to resolving the dispute to the approval of one or both parties, whereas the former concerns an ongoing process that may never have a resolution. Neither is it considered the same as conflict transformation, which seeks to reframe the positions of the conflict parties. Counseling. When personal conflict leads to frustration and loss of efficiency, counseling may prove helpful. Although few organizations can afford to have professional counselors on the staff, given some training, managers may be able to perform this function. Non-directive counseling, or listening with understanding, is little more than being a good listener, something every manager should be. Sometimes simply being able to express one's feelings to a concerned and understanding listener is enough to relieve frustration and make it possible for an individual to advance to a problem-solving frame of mind. The non-directive approach is one effective way for managers to deal with frustrated subordinates and co-workers. There are other more direct and more diagnostic ways that could be used in appropriate circumstances. However, the great strength of the non-directive approach, lies in its simplicity, its effectiveness, and the fact that it deliberately avoids the manager-counselors diagnosing and interpreting emotional problems, which would call for special psychological training. Listening to staff with sympathy and understanding is unlikely to escalate the problem, and is a widely used approach for helping people to cope with problems that interfere with their effectiveness in the place of work. Works cited: Augsburger, D. Conflict Mediation Across Cultures, Louisville, Kentucky; Westminster, John Knox Press; Bannon, Iron Amp, Paul Collier. Natural Resources and Violent Conflict, Options and Actions, Washington, D.C., The World Bank. Uri F. and Amp, Roger Fisher. Getting to Yes, Negotiating Agreement Without Giving In. New York, New York, Penguin Group, Wilmot W. and Amp, Joe Icehocker. Interpersonal Conflict, New York, New York, McGraw-Hill Companies. Berkovich, Jacob and Jackson, Richard, 2009. Conflict Resolution in the 21st Century, Principles, Methods, and Approaches. University of Michigan Press, Ann Arbor. De Waal, Franz B. M. and Angeline van Roosmalen, 1979. Reconciliation and Consolation Among Chimpanzees. Behavioral Ecology and Sociobiology 555-66. De Waal, Franz B. M. 1989. Peacemaking Among Primates. Harvard University Press, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Judge, Peter G. Franz. Conflict Avoidance Among Rhesus Monkeys, Coping with Short-Term Crowding. Animal Behavior, 46 to 221-232. DOI, 10.1006, ANB. 1993.1184. Venema, Hans, A. al. Methodological Improvements for the Study of Reconciliation. Behavioral Processes, 31 to 29-38. DO 10.1016-0376-63579-0035-3. De Waal, Franz B. M. and Filippo Aureli, 1996. Consolation, Reconciliation, and a Possible Cognitive Difference Between Macaques and Chimpanzees. Reaching into Thought. The Minds of the Great Apes. Cambridge University Press, New York, New York. 80 to 110. Aureli, Filippo. Post-conflict anxiety in non-human primates, the mediating role of emotion in conflict resolution. Aggressive behavior, 23 to 315-328. DOI, 10.1002, 1098-233,723-5 and LT, 315, ADAB2 and GT, 3.0.co.2H. Castles, Duncan L., White and Andrew. Post-conflict behavior of wild olive baboons. I. Reconciliation, Redirection, and Consolation. Ethology. 104 to 126-147. DOI 10.1111 J 1439-0310.1998 TB00057 X. Aureli, Filippo and Franz B. M. De Waal, eds. 2000. Natural Conflict Resolution. University of California Press, Berkeley, California. De Waal, Franz B. M. 2000. Primates: A Natural Heritage of Conflict Resolution. Science 289 to 586-590. Hicks, Donna. 2011. Dignity: The Essential Role It Plays in Resolving Conflict. Yale University Press. Silk, Joan B. The Form and Function of Reconciliation in Primates. Annual Review of Anthropology, 31 to 21-44. DOI 10.1146 Anrev. Anthro 31.032902.101743. Weaver and De Waal, Franz B. M. The Mother-Offspring Relationship as a Template in Social Development. Reconciliation in Captive Brown Capuchins. Journal of Comparative Psychology, 117 to 101-110. DO 10.1037-0735-7036-117.1.101. Palagai, Elizabetta A. al. Reconciliation and Consolation in Captive Bonobos. American Journal of Primatology, 62 to 15-30. DOI 10.1002 AJP 20,000. PMID 14,752,810. Palagai, Elizabetta A. al. Aggression and Reconciliation in Two Captive Groups of Lemurcata. International Journal of Primatology, 26 to 279-294. DOI 10.1007 per seconds 1076400529225X. Lorenzen, Michael, 2006. Conflict Resolution and Academic Library Instruction. LOEX Quarterly 33, No. 1/2, 6 to 9, 11. Winslade, John and Amp Monk Gerald. 2000. Narrative Mediation, A New Approach to Conflict Resolution. Jossi Base Publishers, San Francisco. Barsimentov, Yarakov. From Conflict Resolution to Reconciliation. Oxford University Press. Tesla, Pauline. 2001-2008. Collaborative Law, Achieving Effective Resolution in Divorce Without Litigation. Tesla, Pauline and Thompson, Peggy. 2006. Collaborative Divorce, The Revolutionary New Way to Restructure Your Family, Resolve Legal Issues, and Move On with Your Life. Kellett, Peter M. Conflict Dialogue, London, Sage Publications. ISBN 1-4129-09309.